Welcome to the Heal Your Gut Summit. I am your host, Dr. Josh Axe. Really pumped to have Dr. Kellyann Petrucci on the show today. She's going to be talking about bone broth, one of my favorite healing foods. And she actually has an incredible book that was just released called The Bone Broth Diet, or Dr. Kellyan's Bone Broth Diet. And as you know, and have probably heard from some other speakers, we're big fans of collagen and all things bone broth. Now, we're not just going to talk about bone broth. We're going to get into other things as well, like how to reduce inflammation, restore digestive health, as well as how to slim down, burn fat, and lose weight. And just a little bit about Dr. Kellyann here. She's been featured on the Dr. Oz show. She's been featured on the Doctors. She has a PBS TV show that's doing wonderfully right now, doing really, really well. Also, she's had a big background in covering paleo diet in the past. And also, she's got a great background as a nutritionist, a doctor of naturopathic medicine, and she's been featured in other publications such as Time Magazine, Huffington Post, Wall Street Journal, and lots of other places as well. So again, it's an honor to have Dr. Kellyann here with us today. Dr. Kellyann, I'm pumped about our interview here.
Oh, so am I, Dr. Axe. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to make a difference here.
All right. Well, great. I know, again, you've got your new book out right now, The Bone Broth Diet. And in there, you say there are two silent or hidden reasons why so many people have stubborn and resistant weight loss issues. What are those? And then also, how do those relate to gut health?
Well, it has everything to do with gut health. So when a patient comes in to see me, I have so many patients over the last 20 plus years that come in and they feel completely aimless because they've tried everything and they either can't get the weight off or they can't get those last few pounds off. They don't know what to do. Or maybe they're in pain. They have achy joints. Maybe they have fatigue, that deep fatigue that they just can't get rid of. They have digestive problems. They come in, they have autoimmune problems, all those thyroid problems. So here's my first line of attack, always, always, always. Because when you've been practicing for a while and when you're in the trenches, what you do is you start to see trends. You see commonalities in people, and it always circles back to the same thing. So what I say is that chronic inflammation is the biggest cause of weight and health problems, period, end of story. The first line of attack always is, let's see where this patient stands when it comes to inflammation. That's the first thing we look at always. And what's important to note here, Dr. Axe, is that there's actually two types of inflammation. And I want people to be aware of that because the first kind is acute or short-term inflammation. And then there's chronic or ongoing inflammation. And these are two very different sides of the coin. So one is really good and one is really bad. So if you break a bone or you come down with a cold, your immune system is going to send out an army of cells. And that's to fight off the infection and help you heal. So that's acute inflammation or this short-term inflammation. This is a good thing. We want this. But sometimes your immune system, it gets stuck. It gets stuck on the on position. And what I say to patients is, it goes wonky. That's the technical term. But it keeps on sending out these warrior cells when there's no war to fight. And this makes your body really confused. And the one thing that your body doesn't like is to be confused. So here's what happens. Those cells actually turn against your body and they churn out chemicals that make you chronically sick. So it's like a forest fire in your body that never goes out. That's chronic inflammation. This is bad. This is a silent killer. And I'll tell you from personal experience, from seeing the test results, seeing patients that come in with this symptomology and making the link. And I can say that silent inflammation is linked to about every modern day disease that we see today. It has everything to do with aging. It's from diabetes to cancer to heart disease to autoimmune disease, even obesity. And again, this causes achy joints, fatigue, bloating, constipation, that puffiness, even depression is linked to this. So this inflammation is going to sicken your body in ways that make you put on weight. And here's the kicker. Fat cells are inflammatory. So when you add on pounds, you have this incredibly vicious cycle. Inflammation leading to weight gain, leading to more inflammation. So that's the first thing. So the first thing that you need to address is understanding, inflammation, the different kinds and where you are. And you can easily get a test to see reactive protein. Most clinicians can do this very easily. It's an inexpensive test. It's a simple blood test. So you can test this on yourself, or you can just really look at these symptoms. This fatigue, the achy joints, the bloating, the constipation, the puffiness, the depression. You really just can't get rid of that weight. Assess these things and understand that that's your first line of attack. And then the second reason why people can't lose weight is everything that you just talked about or we just mentioned, and that is because they have a sick gut. And it goes along with inflammation, because inflammation oftentimes and almost always begins in the gut. And it's a really interesting system because your gut actually contains, trillions of microbes. It's an entire ecosystem. It's living right inside of you right now. And when I studied in Switzerland, one of the doctors, Dr. Thomas Rau, would stand in front of the doctors and he would literally jump up and down and he'd say, "You're bags of bugs. That's what you are. You have to understand you're bags of bugs. And don't let this freak you out. This is actually a good thing, because these bugs are actually bacterial cells in your intestinal tract. So you have to think of this like your soil. So if you pot a bunch of plants in a soil that lacks nutrients, or if it's diseased, or if it's toxic, your plants are not going to thrive. It's just the same thing. The same thing goes for you. And these microbes are involved in everything from helping you to digest your food, to metabolize your food, to keeping your immune system in check, because we've learned that so much of our immune system happens in these Peyer's patches in our gut. So also, it makes your skin look unbelievable when you take care of your gut. It keeps your body really, really beautiful. So when you don't feed these bugs the right foods, your gut's going to get inflamed. It's going to get inflamed. So this inflammation is going to damage the walls of your intestine, and this is not what you want. You need those intestinal walls to be locked in, strong, like a force to be reckoned with. It's really essential. So nothing can get in or out, because if not, you're going to develop what we call leaky gut. And I'm sure some of the other people have, doctors and practitioners, have discussed this on the summit. But leaky gut is, again, it's a common term that's thrown around, that sometimes it's understated, but it's a really big deal. Because when those little holes open up in your gut wall and they allow toxins and undigested food and molecules to leak out and get in your blood system, your immune system identifies these as attackers, and it goes wild. So this is when that inflammation spreads through your entire body, making you sick and making you pile on the pounds that you don't understand why it's happening. Actually, the fat is actually almost a defense mechanism to almost keep your viscera or your organs, safe from all these toxins and all this craziness, this confusion that's going on in your body, because that's what ends up happening. You get this confusion, and it's just not a good place to be. And we're hearing more and more often about all of these autoimmune problems, Crohn's and colitis, this IBS. I feel like every third person now is coming in with something like this. And so many of those thyroid problems that we see and that we hear of, they're attached to the same system, the same wonkiness, if you will, this confusion that goes on in the body. So while we toss this name around and it's, doesn't seem like it attaches itself to so much importance, because we really have to look at this. Because again, the two most important things that you have to look at when someone comes in and they say, "Oh, I've got this going on, and I can't lose the weight, and I feel like I'm aging, and I've got these aches and these pains and these digestive problems and so forth." You have to look at inflammation, this chronic, ongoing inflammation, and you have to look at the gut. Is the gut sick?
I couldn't agree more. That it really is the root cause of disease. And as you're saying, inflammation, which is something I think people have touched on, but not as deeply as you are on this interview. So let's jump into the next question. If it's inflammation, how do you prevent and heal this silent inflammation that's going on in the gut?
Simple. And this is what the beauty is. This is where the hope comes in. This is where every single person that's struggling right now listening to this can completely change their mindset. Because here's where the hope comes in. Your body is constantly rebuilding. And what you need to do to turn this around today is to rebuild your ecosystem. rebuild the system that you have inside of you, these bugs, rebuild everything. When you do this, the pounds are going to fall off like crazy. And you literally start to de-age before your own eyes. And, it sounds like science fiction when I say that changing what's going on in your gut can take off weight. But if you're skeptical, just think about this. There was a study that was done recently, I think it was last March. It was literally, just months ago, where researchers identified pairs of human twins in which one twin was obese, the other was slim. They transferred the gut bacteria from one of these twins into mice, and guess what happened? The mice with the bacteria from the twins got fat, and the mice with the bacteria from the slim mice stayed slim. So this was from a really good journal. They did it. It was a properly done study. So that gets my attention. I like that. It was a properly done, and it was recited in the New York Times. So this tells you, it really is critically important to not only your health, the whole picture of health, but your weight. So here's the beauty. And here's where not only you can have so much hope, but it doesn't take that much time. And this is what I tell people, bam, change your mindset right now. Because not only is this so doable, because your body's constantly rebuilding and constantly changing and working for you, your body wants you to succeed. That's the innate beauty of your body. But not only that, but it only takes 21 days. And here's why. So my book is called Dr. Kellyan's Bone Broth Diet, and it's a 21-day program to lose 4 inches off of your waist and to lose 15 pounds. And that seems like a big promise, a big claim, but here's why I know it works. Not only did I do a bunch of test studies, but I know how the body works. And this is a fact. Your red blood cells renew about every month. Your skin cells, it takes them about 2 to 12 months. And your bone cells, they renew in about 2 to 6 years. Your nerve cells in about 2 to 7 years. But your intestinal cells turn over in about 3 weeks' time, in about 21 days. And that's nothing. So think about this logically, right? Step into the common sense corner of your brain. If that's true, if your intestinal cells can turn over in 3 weeks, wouldn't it make sense that if you gave your body the right raw material for the lifespan of those cells, and for 3 weeks, you can actually turn over your whole microbiome, which is what we call this ecosystem I'm referring to, this bags of bugs that you have. Think about that. It can take just 3 weeks to heal your gut. That's why sticking to a program, I don't care, white knuckle it, do whatever you have to do, but you stick to it, and you stick to it completely and fully commit for 21 days, and you will see results. Why? Because it's against natural law not to. I mean, you can have more certainty in this than anything else. So, when your gut's strong, it's not leaky anymore. So toxins don't escape. Your immune system calms down. And the result is you have no more inflammation. And there's something else to know about the foods that cure leaky gut and chronic inflammation. They also lower your insulin levels. So giving your body the right raw material to heal your gut, it's like a twofer, because they heal your insulin levels, which is really important, and they heal your gut. So, this is all really important, but that's where the hope comes in. And, 21 days is nothing. And it's not hard, because the foods that you get to eat that feed the gut happen to be the foods that work best with your body. What I always say is that fear not. Once you learn the foods that are on your nutritional blueprint, the foods that your body metabolizes best, the foods that your body digests the best, you no longer feel aimless. And as sure as I'm standing here, we all go off the rails sometimes. I know I have, I will again. And when I do, I know the framework in which I need to pull back to. That's what I know. I know there's complete clarity. I have, food values that are rock solid. I know the yeses and nos. And I know that when I'm making a decision that's not part of this, but I know when I'm eating foods that are not part of my nutritional blueprint, it becomes a choice and not a cheat, because I know exactly what I'm doing and I know how to pull myself back into this proper framework.
Wow, incredible. And I know this is, much of the program that you describe in your book, The Bone Broth Diet. It's much of the program that you've talked about on your PBS TV show. One of the things I know that you discuss in your book are, what are the 3 fat burning foods you recommend to reboot your system?
Well, there are several tips that I give, and I put them all into a system, which is really unique. It's never been done before. And you'll get more of that in the book, Dr. Kellyan's Bone Broth Diet. But just to give you 3 starter points. The first one, again, I want everyone to understand that these things that seem simple sometimes, they pass by us and we don't look at them like they're any big deal. But sometimes it's the simplest of things that make the biggest difference in understanding the power behind them. And the first of that is lean proteins. And the reason why is these proteins give you a huge supply of fat burning nutrients like CLAs, conjugated linoleic acids, which are the best thing that you can do to burn belly fat. And why do we care about belly fat? That is the fat that causes all the problems with heart disease and so forth. And estrogens collect there. This is what we call dangerous fats. These are dangerous fats. If you have belly fat and you're listening to this, then I implore you to please take action immediately. Any emergency room physician, and I know Dr. Khan, he's out there doing a lot of these, and Dr. Joel Kahn, a cardiologist, he'll tell you the same thing. Belly fat is dangerous fat. And so that's why we have to be really mindful of it. So I love proteins because they've got this conjugated linoleic acid, which reduces inflammation and burns body fat. It's got choline. Choline is the great transporter. You don't collect fat where it shouldn't be. It transports fat. So really, pasteurized meat and eggs and all of these things, they're amazing. And here's the hitch. And here's what the new piece of this is, that proteins with every meal. And so I don't advocate a diet that is about a hunk of meat. This is not a conversation about a hunk of meat. This is not Atkins diet. This is not a high protein diet. I want to make that clear. This is about, you don't need that much protein. You just need healthy, lean proteins, a little bit with every meal. Because that's when you get those fat burning properties. That's when you have those CLAs and the choline working for you. They do a lot to really stabilize the blood sugar. So let me backtrack a little bit and say that when I was just asked to do an interview as to what's going on with Weight Watchers and why are their sales down and so forth. And it was for Life and Style magazine. And, why do you think this is happening? And so, one of the things I want to make clear, that if you're listening to this and you have bounced around, you need to change your paradigm in that when you're examining, how do I lose weight? How do I look slimmer and younger and feel better? You have to ask yourself 3 questions. Does this diet that I'm about to embark on, does it reduce inflammation? Does this diet I'm about to embark on, does it heal the gut? And number 3, does this diet that I'm about to embark on, does it help with my blood sugar? Is it going to make me what I call a natural fat burner? Because I'm sitting here doing this wonderful interview with you, Dr. Axe, and I'm burning fat. I'm burning fat sitting here discussing this wonderful information with you because I've trained my body on how to do so. And so all of the foods that I talk about, everything I talk about is, healthy and about nutrition. That's what I'm about. And it's really important that the foods that you choose, I want to push nutrition into my cells and I want to get the toxins out. That's what I want to do. So all of these foods that I'm talking about, they do this for you. But any program out there, I look at some of these diet programs that are out there and it's incredulous to me that they can think for 1 second that this is going to get people where they want to be, slimmer and younger. Because guess what? The only way you're going to look young is to not have inflammation rampant in your body, not to have a forest fire. Because the minute you turn that confusion switch on, you're beginning to look older. You're beginning to look older. That is such a huge trick. That so many people that you see that they're aging beautifully, They may not know that it's inflammation, but what they are doing is they're leading an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. So getting back to the main point, the first of these foods is lean proteins. And the deal is to have these proteins with every meal. And you only need a little bit. It's not about a hunk of meat. And the second thing is, and I know that you've probably heard an awful lot about this on the summit, but I want to bring this up again because it's important, and it's an important part of this paradigm, which is fermented foods. Because if you're trying to heal your gut, one of the best ways that you can do this is to give it healthy bacteria. And fermented foods, like the sauerkraut that's properly prepared, and the Asian superfood kimchi, and there's even some kind of pickles are fermented. My favorite, by the way, my favorite with patients that say, "Oh, yuck, well, bleh." I've never had a problem having people start fermented foods with coconut kefir. People seem to like coconut kefir. It seems to be universally embraced. So if any of these foods like kimchi, the Asian cabbage, all of these things, if they sound gross to you, go out and get some coconut kefir. It's delicious. I think that you'll really like it. I haven't had anyone who has not yet. It's got a beautiful flavor. And the bottom line is it feeds you with this good bacteria. So the second rule of thumb, first is the protein with every meal. Doesn't have to be a lot. The second is to have fermented foods once a day. And be mindful of that. Make that a fundamental. So you're thinking, okay, so I've heard this before. No. I'm not telling you to listen to it and let it glaze over. Make these fundamentals, right? So what I'm trying to do is anchor in some values. So the fermented foods, be cognizant of that. I have this whole microbiome. It's interesting. You may have heard before. We have, 60 trillion cells. We've got 100 trillion of these bugs. So you darn well better feed them, right? I mean, they're a big part of who we are. So we need to make sure that we feed them. So that is the second. Really making it a fundamental to get this good bacteria. And don't forget about the prebiotic foods. And the prebiotic foods are interesting because they take the good bacteria and they multiply it. So asparagus is by far the best for this. So incorporating asparagus into your diet, onions have this, garlic has this, jicama has this, and jicama is fantastic. I love this too because it's what I call an energy dense food. So after working out, or if you feel like you just need a little bit more energy, the jicama is great. And it's also wonderful to dip in avocado, into guacamole. So the prebiotic and the probiotic foods, very important to feed your gut. And the third is, again, we've heard this before, but it's really important, is these healthy fats. And my favorite is to be sure that you include all forms of coconut fat, coconut oil, coconut chips, coconut milk. All of these things are really good. And a couple of tips: if you have cravings and you're feeling like, oh gosh, I feel like I need something sweet, I always have coconut chips with me. A handful of healthy fat often combats cravings, which, by the way, studies show only last about 4 minutes on average. So if you can somehow, get some healthy fats within that period of time, oftentimes you'll find that those cravings, they really dissipate. I love cooking with coconut oil because you can really turn that temperature up. You don't have to worry about the oil oxidizing or going rancid. It's very important because rancid oils mean rancid body, and rancid body, I mean inflammation. So it's great to cook with this coconut oil, which gives you beautiful, glorious skin. It heals your gut. It's really terrific. Coconut milk is a great substitute for milk in coffee. So that's a great way to give your brain a really good dose of a healthy fat and keep your skin looking beautiful. I also love olives. They're a terrific snack. They're good fats. Avocados, you can never go wrong with. Avocado oil, which is one of my favorite oils. It's a drizzle oil, as is actually olive oil, because they have a low smoke point, so you can't turn the temperature up too high. But the big plus about avocado oil is that you can pat some of this on your skin, and it actually builds collagen in the skin. This is my moisturizer. This is such a big secret that shouldn't be. A little avocado oil makes your skin beautiful, and it's the only one of these oils that actually build natural collagen in your skin. It's really worth doing. And some, nuts, and only a handful. You only want a handful of nuts to get, but they're good oils, good fats if you don't overdo it. Clarified butter or ghee. This is, like butter with the milk solids taken out. So again, you can really cook on a high heat with this. I love this. Grass-fed butter or butter from grass-fed cows. That's terrific too, because it's got those CLAs, there's conjugated linoleic acids in there. So they're all good. And you probably have had experts on this summit as well tell you that, don't think that these healthy fats are at all evil. They are so beautiful and bountiful for cells. The membranes around our cells need these healthy fats to propel beautifully and to work for you in everything that they do. This is really important. And if you're interested in losing weight, you have to know that there's a very, very important rule, and that is to burn fat. You have to eat fat. And what I mean is healthy fats. So all of these are healthy, and they will keep your skin looking absolutely plump and beautiful. So so those are three really good foods: the proteins with every meal, fermented foods, and the prebiotic, probiotic foods. Have it once a day and have these healthy fats.
Well, I know one of the foods that you obviously incorporate into your diet that you talk about in your book, Dr. Kellyann, is bone broth. So let's talk a little bit about how we can incorporate bone broth into our diet, because you're saying, obviously you want us to get quite a bit of this in. How do we incorporate it?
Sure. So a little background. So I call bone broth my liquid gold because I want everyone to understand this is not like soup. This is very, very different. This is made from bones, which you simmer for hours, and it releases really deep nutrition. Bone broth is filled with gelatin, which is, I think, the biggest deal in healing your gut. And by the way, let me also say, after 20 years of practice, what would be the one thing, if I could incorporate one thing, just one single thing to make a change today, I would say bone broth right now, today. Because bone broth is filled with this gelatin, which is the biggest key to healing your gut. It's loaded with all kind of anti-inflammatory nutrients like glycine. It's really important. It's got natural glucosamine and chondroitin in there. So if you got achy joints, you've got to start bone broth today. I can't tell you how many people come in with achy joints that it's gone from bone broth. It's gone. You get a really solid, again, healthy gut, and it makes your skin really plump. I mean, it's terrific. So how can you start implementing this? Well, you can start implementing this by just having 1 cup a day. I have patients that actually, they get so much energy from this and it warms you down to the toes. They actually have it instead of their coffee. And if that sounds unbelievable to you, wait till you see the healing power. Just wait till you see what it can do for you. Wait till you see what bone broth can do. And then you'll see that it's actually powerful enough that you actually may want to replace your coffee with this, because it's got such deep nutrition on so many levels, not to mention, the protein and some of the minerals that you get that I didn't even notice. But it tastes darn good. It tastes really good. It's warming down to the toes. It's almost like you can feel the nutrition happening. You can feel the magic happening in your body.
Well, great. So let's get into a little bit more. How can somebody prepare bone broth on their own?
So this is what I would recommend. So here's the easy track. There is the easiest way in the world that you can make bone broth by just buying, say, a rotisserie chicken. You can leave the meat on, or you can take all the meat off, have the meat with dinner, throw the bones in either a stock pot or a crock pot or slow cooker, or you can do what I do. Literally take the whole thing, because I like there to be meat on the bones because it gives it more flavor. You can literally take the whole chicken, stick it in a pot, put some water just so it's about 1 inch above the chicken. And then here's what you do. Listen to how easy this is. Take, say, 2 carrots. Don't have to peel, nothing. Break the carrots with your hands, break them in half, throw them in the pot. Take, say, 3 pieces of celery, 3 stalks of celery. Literally cut them one way, just right across. Just cut it vertically. Throw it right in the pot. Take an onion. You peel the onion, cut it in 4 different sections, throw it in the pot. That will give you so much flavor that's unbelievable. And then from there, you expand upon what moves you. What rocks your world? What flavors do you want? For me, I love lemongrass. So I just buy a stalk of lemongrass and I smash it. I just take it down with a knife and I smash the lemongrass so it will be released. And I take that and I throw it in the pot. That's it. So you can either do it in a stock pot or a crock pot. And if you do it in the crock pot, oh, excuse me, I left out one thing. You have to put a little apple cider vinegar, spread a little apple cider vinegar because that helps the bones dissolve. And then that's when the nutrients come out. And a good idea for bones, shank, short rib, oxtail. You want anything that's got, that cartilage in there. Ribs are really good for that, cartilage. You want that collagen, that cooked collagen, that gelatin. That's what you're seeking. And so what you do is you have the stock pot or the crock pot. In the crock pot, what you do is you just turn it on at night and you wake up and you've got bone broth, which I do 90% of the time. Or you do it in a stock pot and you cook it about, say, 12 hours for chicken, about 18 hours for beef bones. And you would not believe, I just did a video on this and I have to tell you, I shocked myself again when I was really paying attention to the time. It's literally a 5-minute job. So it's about $4 for a pound of bones. I mean, there's no excuses here. I've heard every excuse in the book after 20 years, I can tell you, as to why someone can't get what they really want, as to why they can't be slimmer, younger, healthier. Why? But I have to tell you, this is excuse proof because it takes no time and it takes, it's pennies. So you can add this to soups, you can add it to stews, you can add it to chili, you name it. So there's all kind of ways that you can add this in. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like I said, you can start just having a cup in the morning. I actually sip on it all day. So to me, I sip on it all morning and I love it. And that's me. There's been no studies that have been done yet that show what is the max capacity of bone broth. There's been no studies, so no one really knows, but I can tell you, I have examined the ingredients and I see no reason why you can't have as much as you want. The one thing that I would say is I wouldn't just have bone broth exclusively over a long period of time because it is lacking in some things, like it doesn't have enough calcium that would make me feel okay with telling a patient, go ahead and just have this if you want to just do a fast for a long period of time. That I wouldn't recommend. But adding it into a program with these fat burning foods, as I've done in the bone broth diet, it's such a win. I am telling you again, it's my one thing. It would be my one thing if you were to ask me out of all the patients that I've seen, what would be the one thing that universally would help someone to lose weight, to look younger, to heal those aches and pains, to help with autoimmune problems. And, it's so good because it really detoxifies the kidneys. So it's so good for adrenals. So it's so good for your energy. And I could just go on and on. So there's a lot of value to it and it's inexpensive and it's easy. My gosh, that equals a huge win to me.
I love it, Dr. Kellyann. Well, for anybody who wants to continue to learn more about Dr. Kellyann, you can go to her website, drkellyann.com. You can check out her blog. She's got some great recipes. There's videos, obviously her book. Dr. Kellyann, let's talk about recipes for a minute. What are some of your favorite go-to recipes using bone broth?
I would say my favorite, and I mentioned this before, would be the lemongrass version. It's really good. I mean, just simply adding some lemongrass in there makes a huge difference. Another tip is adding watercress. You can actually make a kind of even a more heightened weight loss bone broth by adding some celery and adding some watercress in there. There's all kind of ways you can add meat, different kind of meats in there to make it more flavorful. You can add spices in there to make it more flavorful. You can add turmeric in there, which is another anti-inflammatory agent. It really helps with inflammation. When I say you can basically mess around with this so much and make a difference, you can add, sometimes I literally take eggs and I drop them in. I make an egg drop soup in the morning for breakfast. You literally crack the eggs in the soup. You let it cook for a little while. 10 minutes, like it's nothing. And you've got this incredible egg drop soup. That's one of my go-tos in the morning. And sometimes I'll add some kimchi to that. There's 10 gazillion things you can do. There really is all kind of things. You can add, sometimes I take meatballs, I'll take ground turkey and I'll make little balls and I'll throw that in the pot and I'll let that cook up. So then you've got bone broth with these beautiful like turkey meatballs. My kids love that. There's a million ways to go. This really is about your jam. What is it that you like? Because you can really express yourself with these broths. You can add them to any recipe that calls for water. Like I said, this is free game.
Wow. I know for myself, and I have a book coming out called Eat Dirt and 5 Steps to Heal Leaky Gut. And that's one of the main foods we talk about in there is bone broth. And I'm the same way. I love your idea there for the turkey meatballs and the bone broth soup for doing in the crock pot and just sipping it throughout the day. I love that you said this earlier. It's a great replacement for coffee. Absolutely. Rather than having something that's going to, really sort of drain your body of nutrients and minerals, you're having something that's replenishing it. It's cutting edge stuff. And again, I'm a huge fan and love it. Again, everybody, you should check out Dr. Kellyan's website. She's got some great stuff on there. And one of her things is the Slim Story. Talk a little bit about the Slim Story for me.
So when I work with patients, what I'm very aware of is that everything rises and falls on the 6 inches between your ears. It's your mindset, period. That is what defines us in life. It's not money. It's not education. It's none of that stuff. It's nothing external that you see. You cannot convince me of otherwise. I have seen literally thousands and thousands of patients. I've helped thousands of people through my books, through everything that I've done. I've gotten letters. My inbox is filled every day. I listen. I deeply connect to all of this. And I can tell you, as sure as I'm standing here, it is your mindset that defines you and will determine your destiny. So let's apply the same mindset to what you eat and who you are. It's very important. Little things like this may sound funny, but when you start reading about this in the book, you'll understand having an inner doorman. So really tapping in, and this is not closing yourself off, but this is just understanding that aligning yourself with people with congruent values is exceedingly important. Because if you don't, it will lead to so much frustration. So think about this. Getting people out of your life that are not serving you is much harder than letting people in, right? It's pretty easy to let people in. So why not reduce the stress in your life by letting people in your life that are congruent with your values? That's across the board. That's important across the board. Why am I saying this? And you're thinking, what does this have to do with what we're talking about? Well, it has everything to do because stress is really important to manage and mitigate. Why? Because those catecholamines, that adrenaline and that cortisol and that everything else that flushes through your body, when you're stressed out, that ages you. That makes you heavy. That makes you sad. That makes you feel invisible. You see, it all matters. I can have people come in and they drink all the bone broth in the world. They can. But guess what's going to trump it? It's not going to make any difference. You can drink a gallon a day. But if you're stressed out to the max, those stress hormones are powerful. And you know what else those stress hormones do? They're made from sugars and fat. Okay, that's what they're made from. And I'm not talking about the healthy fats we were speaking of. So what happens is you have all these biofeedback mechanisms in your body. Your body's going to start craving the junky foods to make more of these stress hormones. And it's so powerful when these biofeedback mechanisms of your body are convincing your mind that you need these things. It's very hard. So this whole slim mindset is about, if you want to be slim, you got to have your head together. You've got to have the 6 inches between your ears locked solid. And it's following a couple of these principles and these understanding the paradigm. Things like say next. You cannot live in a state of negativity and allow these negative thoughts to take you over. We all have them. We have them continually all day long. So what I tell patients is sit with it. So something's happening. You're not happy about it. Sit with it. And then you say next. And you move on. It's critical. So if you study a lot of people who have succeeded in life, and to me, succeeding means being happy and balanced in their life. They have these skills. They know who to let in their life. They know how to say next. They don't hold on and keep looking in that rear view mirror. They know. So I give these little skills, these skill sets, managing your yeses, knowing when to say yes and no, and understanding how powerful it is that you don't say yes to everything that comes your way. Little things. Just doing you, understanding that really you got to take care of you. All of these things are important because they mitigate stress. And those stress hormones, they're really powerful. And if you want to lead a strong life, because what good is it being slim and looking young if you're a mess? If you're a hot mess, who cares? So you've got to have the full package. So to me, the full package is understanding these principles that we talked about today and really having your mindset in check.
Excellent. Well, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Dr. Kellyann. I know that this information for me has been life-changing. I want to encourage everybody, check out her website, drkellyann.com, and her new book, The Bone Broth Diet. You can find it on her website and on Amazon.com. I want to say thanks everybody for joining myself and my co-hosts who are putting on this event, Dr. Eric Zielinski and Donna Gates. And hey, I know that I've been loving these interviews. Hey, if you haven't bought a copy of the entire summit, make sure you do. Again, I know that I'm personally going to be going back, listening to many of these interviews. I know I've even learned so much from some of our top experts, including Dr. Kellyann. So guys, again, continue to enjoy the interviews. Thanks for taking part in the summit, Dr. Kellyann. Thanks for jumping on here with me. This has been Dr. Kellyann Petrucci and Dr. Josh Axe with the Heal Your Gut Summit.